Welcome everyone. Today we'll be looking at all 6 available classes for Path of Exile Early Access. In this video, we'll have a look at the skills, the combinations, and also abilities for those classes that will become available and how they can synergize with their own class and also with different classes. There will be classes that focus on range damage, melee damage, magical damage, and also tons of abilities and also skills to be displayed, even time-stopping enemies. Now, in order to help you guys with a detailed summary of those classes, I have also written the notes for those classes, including the playing style of those classes, special mechanics, primary weapon, number of active spells, and also additional information for those classes. And should you guys want to have a look at those summary notes, those will be available in the links below. Yes, I'll be making a lot of summaries, a lot of notes for Path of Exile 2, and including a lot of guides to come as we come to the release of Early Access. Now, the Monk is going to be the first class we'll be looking at. The Monk is going to be a melee class that excels in mobility, in abilities to deal additional damage through elemental damages and also ways of dealing unarmed fist damage, and of course using the primary weapon as the quarterstaff. The Monk has the abilities to extend his reaches through elemental attacks and also through additional range attacks, which I'll explain as we go deeper into the Monk. The Monk is quite mobile and has great attack speed. The Monk also have a variety of skills that synergize well with unarmed skills, which will enable you to one-shot enemies, extend your reach, and also dashing towards enemies. The Monk's core mechanics involves gaining momentum. As we gain momentum through certain spells like Killing Palm, as you can see over here, once you gain momentum, you can then deal devastating attacks that enables you to expend momentum to deal even higher damage and also stronger elemental attacks. And as you guys can see, the Monk does have a variety form of dealing elemental damage. The 3 primary elemental damage the Monk will be dealing will be wind, ice, and also lightning. The Monk has the ability to summon a giant belt, and as he strikes the belt, he can then deal LOE elemental damage to the enemies. Now, because the Monk is a rather agile class that excels in dealing elemental damage, he also has the abilities to extend his attack range and also the area of coverage. As you can see over here, as the Monk enhances his attacks through special abilities, his next few attacks will now have special enchanted attacks that extends the range, dealing additional elemental damage, and then covering a wide range of the map. And here we get to see a small demonstration of the Monk at work in the latest stage of the game, which has very wide attack range and also excels in dealing tons of magical elemental damage. So if you guys are looking for a melee class that is mobile, agile, and that has a great attack range, together with abilities to use unarmed skills and also having multiple elemental synergies and also combos, and that can potentially be a melee mage or battle mage, the Monk might just be the right class for you to start Path of Exile 2. Now, the Warrior is going to be the second melee class for Path of Exile 2 Early Access. As you can see, compared to the Monk, the Warrior is a little slower, but it does have a greater radius of AoE attacks, stomps, and also slams. The Warrior has the ability to cancel animations, redirect animations, and also roll and also dodge out of danger because his animations and also attacks seems to be a little slower. But that is compensated by Warrior's abilities to combine different elements, different slams, and also different combos to do massive AoE radius damage. The Warrior is using a mace, and using the mace allows the Warrior to cast a number of shouts, ground slams, and also abilities that involve heavy hitting and also enhancement of double damage. Once the Warrior casts certain shouts, his next attacks, next spells will be enhanced and dealing even double damage. One of the biggest highlights for the Warrior over here is that he can block directly at the front while using a shield. The frontal damage can be fully blocked, and this allows the Warrior to be super defensive. But there is a catch. If you continuously to block too many times, you'll be staggered, stunned, and become vulnerable. So you cannot abuse his ability to become an unkillable tank. On the other side, while blocking enemies, there are some enemies that can have abilities that cannot be blocked. And this means the Warrior will still have to dodge and also roll out of attacks. But nevertheless, Warrior is super tanky and has tons of abilities to become defensive, to zoom the area, and again, to block damage from the front, even spells and also projectiles. This allows the Warrior to be super defensive while summoning a totem. Yes, the Warrior will also be able to summon a variety of totems. Some will be dealing shockwave damage, and others can be enhancing and also automatically casting certain slams of Warrior's abilities. So this is like having a second Warrior on the team that deals tons of damage and auto casting spells. In the endgame, the warrior will be leaping around, summoning tokens, charging through enemies, and dealing massive damage while taking little or no damage. So if you're looking for a class that is pretty much unkillable with the right gears and also the right skills that can also deal tons of AoE damage, the warrior may be the class for you. And throughout its ability to summon tokens, it can also become very interesting and also very powerful with the right tokens in conjunction with its spells. Now compared to the monk, the warrior is a little slower, so make sure we keep this in mind. But he also has some nice animation cancelling and also redirection. The warrior has a variety of war cries which can be very interesting, and the ability to use a shield that reduces your incoming frontal damage and also access to tokens are some of the biggest highlights for the warriors, together with abilities to auto-casting slams and also spells through his tokens and also enhance them through his war cries. Now the ranger will be our next class of focus. With the usage of a bow, the ranger is super mobile with rapid attack speed and also tons of elemental damage with a wide radius and also ability to bounce between enemies. The ranger is a traditional class coming from POE 1, and the ability to use certain spells and also combinations allows you to shock enemies with electric damage and also zap them, exploding them, and also bouncing arrows across the map. The ranger also have abilities to shoot a variety of elemental arrows, including electric damage that will shock and also explode onto enemies, together with the ability to slow and also keep enemies away from force damage and also ice and also cold damage, and of course abilities to poison enemies with poison arrows that will trigger special effects and also even summoning special minions as you continuously to poison enemies. Now the ranger is extremely mobile, and also the ability to keep his distance allows you to spec into a lot of attack and also offensive spells, and also be able to clear the map super fast and also bombarding enemies with a variety of elemental spells. And for most of the players that played Path of Exile 1, the ranger may be one of the fastest starting class to farm your items and also to push for the endgame so you can play more of the other classes. Because the ranger's ability is to zoom across the map to build super offensive, this allows you to push through quicker content and also allows you to farm quicker in certain modes and in variety of content. So the ranger is definitely going to be a very popular class simply because it is a traditional class that is the best league starter for most of Path of Exile 1. Now after looking at one of the familiar classes coming from Ranger, our second range class is going to be a very interesting Mercenary class for Path of Exile 2. So this is a very interesting class for me because its ability to use WASD to control your characters across the map, and this feels like a third-person shooter. But not only that, the Mercenary has a variety of aimable missions that allows you to shoot rapid fires, sniping fires, grenade launchers, and also shotguns, and also together with a variety of elemental damage. So this allows you to exchange your playstyle instantly, dealing tons of a variety of damage, and be super flexible and also have tons of utility for a number of situations. You can be keeping enemies away from you, exploding them, or having a shotgun as they come closer to you. The Mercenary also have abilities to pinpoint enemies, breaking down their shield and also armor, and then changing into higher damage missiles and also ammunitions to take down enemies. Now on top of the ability to swap between ammos, the Mercenary can also summon ballistas or torrents. Those will enable you to deal additional form of damage, including elemental damage, and this can provide you with another form of damage against bosses, and this provides Mercenary with tons of different playstyles, additional damage against bosses, or zooming enemies out in a certain area of the map, which allows you to be auto-killing monsters through your ballistas. Now the endgame for Mercenary is going to be very explosive. You'll be doing tons of screen-wide AoE damages, as you can see over here, summoning your ballistas and also dealing additional elemental damage as you shock, set enemies on fire, and also exploding them for tons of damage. Now looking at the Mercenary, if you guys are interested in a more modern kind of playing style using guns and also a variety of missiles and also grenade launchers, and also with the flexibility to swap different weapons and also ammunitions, the Mercenary may be the class for you. Together with abilities to enable you to summon tokens and also zoom enemies, the Mercenary can be flexible for all situations. Now the downside, of course, compared to the Ranger is that the Mercenary is a little slower in terms of mobility by the looks of it. Now coming over to one of my favorite classes in any action RPG game, and yes, this is gonna be the Necromancer Summoner or the Witch for Path of Exile 2. Now this is definitely one of the most popular classes in most games because you'll be summoning minions, skeletons, and also having a horde of army at your disposal. You'll be going through enemies with auto-attacking minions and also abilities to weaken them, dealing damage to them, or even applying additional poison and also additional form of damage. The Witch is the summoning class for Path of Exile 2, and there are tons of synergies and also abilities you can be picking from for the Witch. One of the first highlights for me for the Witch is that the ability to have a cap for spirit that allows you to permanently summon minions, and you can take and pick which minions you want to be offensive or be defensive. Now on top of the permanently summoned minions, which will enable you to auto-commit them, you can summon additional minions with the right usage of certain weapons like the Scepters, which allows you to have higher spirit to summon even more minions. Together with the ability to raise minions from corpses, you have a number of ways to summon even more minions, and this allows you to create a horde of army throughout the map. Now, while the Witch's army is at work against monsters and also foes, you can also be casting a variety of spells that poisons, weakens, and also enhance your minions' damage. The Witch can definitely rack up a lot of damage as you summon through a horde of monsters, and with even more ability to summon a variety of monsters and also empower them, the Witch will be one of the favorite and also one of the best starting class should you want to play a summoner or should you want to play a corpse detonating necromancer. So the Witch will be the class for a majority of us, and this may be the class I will be looking into as my starting class for Path of Exile 2. Now the final class we'll be looking at for Path of Exile 2 Early Access will be the Sorcerers. The Sorcerers is your traditional elemental wizard, and you can see the Sorcerers can deal fire, electric, ice, and now tons of elemental damage. This will be your traditional spellcaster, and you'll be casting fireballs, storms, shockwaves, and also tons of elemental spells in conjunction and also combining them together. The Sorcerers have the ability to combine different elemental spells that enhance your current spells, like over here. Now your electric damage now deals additional fire damage as they go through the firewall. The Sorcerers have this ability to auto-casting spells, and this allows you to have certain trigger gems that enhance your spells or even auto-casting them while the enemies are burned or having a certain status. Now of course all the classes can do this, but the Sorcerer seems to be excelling in terms of dealing tons of area-wide damage and also bombarding enemies with different elemental spells. So if you're looking for a spellcasting class and also one of the highest elemental damage class that has an ability to clear across the map, the Sorcerers may be the best class for you. And as usual guys, in action RPG games, elemental spellcasters are usually one of the strongest with a combination of spells and also abilities. Now before I finish this video, I would like to remind you guys this is not the end for all the classes because each of the classes have Ascension. So if you haven't played Path of Exile 2 or Path of Exile 1 in the past, Ascension allows you to have different class specializations after you have picked your class. So every class during early access can have 2 specializations. So this means the 6 class we look at will become 12 specialized class that enhance your abilities to do damage. For example, for the Sorcerers, which can greatly enhance your ability to do elemental damage, or maybe enhance your ability to have a special form of spells. The Sorcerers can become an elemental sorcerer, or maybe a chrono sorcerer that has the ability to time stop, time loop, and also zoom across the map with great mobility and also controls of time. And this, of course, will enhance the class for those specific builds that enhance your synergies and also your build. So how you want to take away from this video is, by looking at the 6 initial class, you get to see whether you like the class or not, its initial core playing style, and if you do like those classes, I'll be making videos on the Ascension classes and also special class synergies and also combinations that will enhance your ability to play the class you like. So this is why this is going to be the first part of our video guide, which shows us what can those classes do, and the future videos will look into what you can do further with the classes you like. And of course guys, as we come closer to the launch of the early access of Path of Exile 2, I'll be looking into a tier list for the characters of classes in terms of early game, mid game, and also late game, and what are the best builds for those classes of course. So make sure you subscribe for the latest Path of Exile 2 content, and I will be diving into this game very deep at the start of December.